This is the Wandering Mike.
Welcome everyone to the Wandering Mike. Today I'm here with Roman. Hey Roman, how's it going? Pretty good. How about you? Yeah, having a good day so far. It's still morning in New Zealand, but it's a beautiful day.
Nice. It's about midday where I'm at.
Oh, where's that?
I'm in the US right now. Right. Yeah, in the US right
Oh, nice. Um, yeah. So Roman, if you just want to start and introduce yourself to the people, tell us a little bit about your life, your journey so far, and then we're gonna dive deeper into that.
now. Okay. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, born in the US here, born in American, we call it, USA, US, America. A lot of different ways to, call it certain ways, but basically was born here, was born in Ohio, raised there for a few years, then moved down with my family to Arkansas due to my dad's job. And haven't lived here the whole time, but most of my life since. And so I've traveled a lot between now and then, seen a lot of different states, a lot of different places, and even different countries, especially from late last year to early this year. I just recently saw Japan and did a lot of traveling. So that's been fun as far as that goes. Growing up, I was growing up, in Ohio. They grew up a lot of my life in Arkansas. And, yeah, just like most kids, went to school, did a lot of what most people, did growing up. But I will say that played some soccer, but outside of that, I wasn't really too active. And the only thing I really loved to do other than see friends and see family was play video games, watch movies, watch TV. Probably honestly, your typical
Right.
kid anyway, but that's a lot of what I was and a lot of how I love to spend my time and free time and everything beyond that. So yeah, that was definitely me in a nutshell growing up. And I did enjoy soccer though, admittedly, growing up as a kid, but that was about the only physical activity that I really did outside of honestly just not doing a whole lot of physical things. So that was a lot of my growing up, as I was going and as I was getting older, that's a lot of what I did. But I will say with that being said though, I eventually came to a point where I realized that it's good to enjoy yourself, play video games, and those things are important still. And I still like to play video games today. I'm not gonna lie, I still enjoy my time with entertainment. But I will say I got to the point where, I wasn't like super sedentary, but I wasn't really taking too much care anyway, with my health and my wellness and well being. And I was honestly neglecting it, not really realizing that I was. And honestly, even if I would have at that point in time, I wouldn't have cared too much, which is kind of sad. But then again, I didn't really know all the negative consequences that could come and stem from it. So I realized that was a huge, a huge issue, really huge issue for me growing up. And so I found out that's not how I wanted to keep living my life. But I did along the way. It's crazy because outside of eventually getting into fitness and developing a huge interest in that ever since, as you can probably see, I'm wearing a top. So obviously, obviously, I do
Yeah.
have interest in fitness. But I wasn't, of course, always interested, but I did. That was one of my passions I developed. Outside of that, I have to admit, I also developed right around the same time a passion for acting and modeling and really just
Oh,
the art behind that. Funny enough, my younger sister got me into modeling and acting at first. But first, it was really just me wanting to be a model. But then after I witnessed her doing that in the entertainment industry, I wanted to branch out to acting as well and really seeing a lot of the people on the big screen growing up that also inspired me to want to do the same thing. And so ever since, I've done some gigs here and there, but it's definitely been a huge passion of mine as well. So those are the things that really brought me to who I am today. And then of course, witnessing a lot of people not taking their health seriously and, really focusing on the importance of it, seeing the end results with some of that, sadly, needless to say, it's actually taught me on how to not be and how to just live my life the healthiest I can. But in a nutshell, that's what brought me to where I am currently. And I've just developed, being a humanitarian, developed a passion for helping other people with fitness.
Right. So there's already a lot of things that I would love to get into. I do want to talk about the acting modeling thing. I do want to talk a little bit about your travels as well, as that's always interesting on here as well.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe to start it off, let's dive right into the fitness thing. So, um, when I listened to you, you said a sentence that uh, was interesting to me. You said, like, at that point, I wouldn't even have cared if I took my fitness serious or not. So, why do you think that a lot of people actually don't care, and why obviously should they care? Like, why is it?
Right. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the reasons I found, in this journey, just for myself, that I've actually picked up on and seeing it from other people as well. A lot of why people tend to not care too much or so much about the overall benefits and importance of fitness and their health is it's oftentimes because they're not aware of the negative consequences that could come from and stem from not being serious. And that was one of the main key reasons why I didn't take it serious because I didn't know like really anything different other than maybe being a little active. I was told as a kid, yeah, be active, play sports. And then yes, your vegetables. So to an extent, I heard some of that growing up, but I never really took it seriously because I didn't really know all why was it important? Other than being told, "Eat this and eat this." Okay, why? I didn't really know why it mattered too much. Even throughout school, they did touch on nutrition some, but it wasn't to the extent or, really to the emphasis that it should have been. I'll be honest, because I didn't really take it serious even throughout much of school until, like, the very, very end towards, like, right as I was graduating and getting out of high school. Then I was starting to fixate more, not just on working out, but into my health too, with what I was eating and drinking. I was starting to get more serious about that, especially by 20. Ever since, it's been a consistent path, from then on. But I will say one of the main reasons is because people just aren't aware. They're not aware of what is going to happen if I don't put, this healthy food in my body and instead this stuff that's junk in my body. What's going to happen to me? What is going to be the end result? They don't really think about that. And they honestly don't know what the end result could be or look like. They just might think, oh, I might not be as healthy, but that's all they think about. I'll be a little less healthy.
Right.
And it's so surface level, they don't really take it seriously. So really, if they would understand the overall importance of it at a deeper level, I feel like they would take it more seriously for sure. I've also found too for myself, that's one of the main key reasons. Another reason a lot of people and myself did not take it seriously at first from the get go, from the very beginning, is because I didn't have a why right away. I didn't know why I wanted to be healthy. I didn't have a reason to be healthy other than being told, eat this, again, eat this, eat that, avoid this at all costs. Like that's all I was told growing for the most part. I was not really given a good solid reason as to why I should, lead a better, healthier life. So that would be another big reason, without a doubt.
Do you think that it is at all possible, like on a bigger scale, to educate people more and give them this why on a broad scale, or is that just utopian thing?
I would have to say to get this to more people, it does sound too good to be true. I'll admit it. It does sound a little too good to be true, especially in a society in America that where there's so much fast food everywhere. Like there's so much fast food, you can't really escape it, even if you want to. I will say I don't ever go to because I just don't have the cravings, luckily, especially with having done this for so long. I've conditioned my body and my
Right.
cravings to crave the right things, not the wrong things. But with that being said, it is possible. I like to believe anything, even the most unrealistic type beliefs and hopes. I still can believe and will believe that they're possible, not very doable in some cases, but it is still possible. It's not easily doable, I should say, but it is possible. And the reason I say that is because there are so many other developed nations and countries where health is a lot more, of a priority, and it's a lot more of a primary focus and a main focus across the board. Whereas in America, I know in Europe it's so different. In Europe it's so different, and I think even in Australia they don't have, and New Zealand, I don't believe they have all these artificial colors and flavorings. I know they don't in Europe, and I believe even
No, we
and I
don't
yeah,
really.
I didn't think you guys did either. I was pretty positive you guys didn't because I know Europe doesn't. And America is one of those only few countries left, at least first world countries left, where we just don't know what we're doing. I swear to God, we don't know what we're doing. We'll put anything and everything in our foods. We'll put anything and everything in our drinks, no matter how unhealthy it might be, just for the sake of profit. And it's so sad to see. It's really sad to see. Just for profitability, we care about that over longevity. And I say longevity over profitability. You know what I'm saying? So we got to take care of our health,
Yes.
not take care. Yes, finances, money's all very important and very great. But these companies are so rich already. It's like they can they can honestly take a little bit of a pay cut for their business and companies to help the grand majority of the people in our country and not poison ourselves with all this, all these chemicals and ingredients. But yeah, definitely it's possible. We just gotta, especially in our country, the US, or in my country, we gotta make sure to just be more focused and more aware, hyper aware of what we're doing to our society. And honestly, take it more serious and look at it through a lens of, humanity, not so much money.
Yes, definitely. Um, so to go into the topic of nutrition, then here for a little bit, maybe let's start it off basic, and then I actually have some questions that interest me personally in the topic as well.
Yeah.
Um, so especially for the people that, yeah, never thought about nutrition at all, what would you say are just the basic things that if you consciously think about them and incorporate them would already help people a lot?
Right. Yeah, I would have to say, honestly, when it comes to nutrition, one of the best things anybody can do is stay away, and I mean stay away from fad diets. Fad diets are one of those things anybody, will be tempted to do, especially if they're trying to lose weight. That's a common thing for people. They want to lose weight, they want to burn fat, they want to, lose clothing sizes. So they want to go to the keto diet, paleo, the Atkins diet. All those fad diets out there, yes, they can work if your calories are in check, but at the same time, they're not going to work long term. So you're ultimately setting yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure and honestly disappointment because they're not sustainable. These fad diets out there that people usually try and have for a moment, for a period, they're only for a moment in a period. It's not sustainable. It's not good for long-term results. So I would say just the simple fact of steering clear, staying away from these fad diets will be monumental in honestly your journey of whatever goal you have. Losing weight, gaining muscle, whatever it might be, or just general health. I would stay away from fad diets at all costs. And I would focus on just higher protein, having more protein. Make sure you're getting at least minimum point to even 1 gram per pound of your body weight, just as a good baseline. And it's pretty simple to follow that. Obviously, if you're more active, I would say 1 gram. But if you're not too active, you maybe work out a couple times a week, 3 times a week, and you're not lifting too heavy, you could justify zero point 0.8 grams per pound of your body weight, especially if you're not lifting too heavy, in the gym. So I would say that's a good general rule too, in addition to staying away from fad diets. And for anyone too that's starting out in their fitness journey and just trying to really get a good nutrition plan going for them other than steering away from fad diets, having high proper, protein intake. I would also recommend that you're getting minimum 8 to 10 cups of water a day, just staying hydrated. And that's just a good general rule of thumb across the board, no matter how active or inactive you might be. Because water is just, it's a necessary thing we all need, right? Or mainly water, we got to have that to wash down our food, to redistribute our nutrients in our system, and really just help cleanse our body from the inside out. So, water intake, it is so, so important. And it's so it's so undermined by a lot of people. It's crazy. Even some high successful, high level people will sometimes neglect their water intake. So water intake is very, very important. H2O, you know what I'm saying? So got to get that H2O in. uh, Other than that, I will say one other thing. Make sure that you're having a decent amount besides protein, having a decent amount of carbs and fats. You don't have to have a lot of fats and carbs, but just break them up in a way where you have a balanced, portion of each. Generally speaking, 20 to 30% of your calories from fat is a good way to do it. Around 35% of your calories from protein, and then the remaining from carbs. And you want to have, when it's carb, intake carb related, you do want to opt or have complex carbs. These complex carbs are typically whole grains, oats, brown rice, things like that, even fruits, just to name different examples right there. But I would recommend, prioritizing the complex carbs when you have carbs, and limit your simple carbs like sugars, pastries, cakes, sweets, things like that. And one other thing, if you're having fruits, totally fine, but you can also have too much natural sugar. So make sure to have no more than 3 to 4 cups of fruit a day, because you also don't want too much of that. It is better to have more of that than, let's say, some Jolly Ranchers or Sour Patch Kids. It is definitely better between those. But if you're going to have more of one or the other, but I would still recommend you limit even fruit to 3 to 4 cups a day. And that'll be good to keep your blood sugar levels more normalized for sure.
Well, thank you. That was
Yeah.
already very useful. So, um, yes, I seriously believe if people actually listen to that and take that away from the conversation, that is so useful. Um, and it basically steered me to the question I wanted to ask anyway. Kind of as a personal motivation for myself as well, because I'm at that point right now where I'm like kind of aware of these things. I kind of eyeballing and trying to put them into my nutrition. But how important do you actually think that calorie counting is? Like that you really
Yeah.
look specifically at your things and get an idea. Is it really necessary to write these things out?
It is. It is. To an extent, you can do it different ways though. And I found there are different ways to do it, but there's one really great solid way to do it. Of course, from person to person, they might prefer different methods. I would say for the most part, generally speaking, for myself and for a lot of the people I know and have worked with as clients, they found that, calorie count, can't even say that. Calorie counting can be very important, but with that though, you want to make sure to count your macros too. So that's your protein, your fats, your carbs, essentially. Macros are macronutrients for long. And essentially what that is that is going to add up to your overall calories. So if you only count calories, yeah, that's good. I mean, you're at least getting a good picture and a good idea, and literally a good numerical idea of how much you're eating, based off of what you've been eating, but you're not knowing fully where you're getting those calories from, if that makes sense. You really want to know, yes, you're hitting your calorie count, right? You're hitting your calorie goal. You're not having too much, but you're not having too little. You're having just enough, or you're at least right around that range. Maybe you're 10, 15 calories off. It's not going to do much if it's like that, but Of course, if you're right there or right around there, you're fine. But you still want to know, with that being said, how many grams of protein am I consuming though? How many grams of fat and carbs am I getting? Because you could have, let's say 2,000 calories, just as a general example. Let's say that's your goal, and maybe you're just maintaining. Well, if you have 2,000 calories or pretty close to that, but your protein intake isn't high enough, you're going to feel hungrier. You're not going to feel as satiated as you could if you had the same amount of calories, but had more protein. So making sure, and that's one of the main reasons why it's very important to, yes, count your calories to an extent, but really count your macros so you can figure out, if that's adding up to your overall calories, but also that you're getting enough macros in the process. So you want to make sure in all things, no matter your calorie goal and calorie count as a whole, that you are getting enough, protein, and that you're getting enough fat and carbs, because you still need some fats and carbs to be healthy and honestly function properly with your mind and just how you feel, how you, move and how you operate, honestly.
And um, probably the last nutrition question for now to then transition into maybe a little bit into the exercise topic as well. Um, so it's again about me personally. So for no particular reason, my kind of schedule every day is I wake up and I immediately go to the gym and only eat afterwards. So I have lunch and dinner. So what some might call intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Again, that's not what I aim for. It's just my routine kind of that developed. So yeah, I'm just asking like, you think, well, maybe first question, is it important to always have a meal before workout? And then second question, the intermittent fasting, do you think it is good or maybe even bad, or does it matter?
Yeah. Right. Hey, those are good, really good questions. When we're talking about, working out specifically and the timing, of how you should eat, when you should eat, I will say this, when it comes to that, in regards to that, it is good to have a pre-workout, small pre-workout meal if you feel you need that extra, boost of energy, if that's what helps you. But I will say it's not something you have to do though. I fast all the time before I work out. I work out almost always
Yeah.
on a fasted stomach. I mean, once in a while, I might have an apple before I leave or something small, but typically I literally just have a cup or two of coffee in the morning, maybe take my creatine and maybe some collagen powder, maybe, but typically some creatine, some coffee just to get some energy. And then from there, just crush the workout. So really, you don't have to, but it is something you can do to feel your body and maybe even feel your metabolism to an extent. So there are benefits to doing it, but it can be just as beneficial for a lot of people to work out on a fasted stomach. And so by the end of the day, I'm going to say it is more overall preference based. As long as you're not eating a lot before you work out, you should be fine, because that's the last thing you want to do. I've done that before. And of course, it was later in the day when I did that. I had like a full, thing of lunch, and I regretted every every second of it. I did that only once, and I never did it again. One time was enough. But yeah, definitely always making sure though that, you know, if you need just a little snack, maybe a little apple to give yourself a little energy, because apples are pretty good to boost your energy, just like coffee. It's been shown to give you, just as much and maybe more for some people, energy for working out. So if you need that little bit of boost, fine. But if not, if you feel better on a fasted stomach, I would just prefer that for a lot of people too. I mean, because that's what I do. So yeah, I just feel more lighter. I feel more myself. I actually have more energy just having some coffee and going to the gym, getting it in the morning, and going from there. I will say now, beyond that, when it comes to intermittent fasting, uh, yet again, just like with the timing, it is preference based. So if you like to skip breakfast, totally fine, as long as you eat enough calories later, like you're still getting to your
Right.
goal. then that's the main thing. That's the main important thing. And that you had a good solid, pump and a workout. So that's another huge important thing as well. I will say though, still, it's also something you don't have to do. Just like you can fast or you don't have to fast before working out, you also don't have to intermittent fast as a general rule across the board. It's not bad for you to, like, it's not going to make you sit if you skip breakfast. It's more so, do you want to skip breakfast? Do you like breakfast? If so, have at it. But again, if you are going to work out shortly after, I would in that case have a smaller than bigger breakfast, because some people are like, breakfast, it's the most important meal of the day. You hear that a lot. I don't
Yeah,
know if that's how they say it over there, but they say that a lot here. Probably do, but they for sure
I
say,
definitely agree.
okay. I was thinking probably it's very likely. Now, there are benefits to having breakfast. I'm not saying that there's nothing good that comes out of that. Again, it can help your metabolism and kickstart it for the morning. That's true. But while it can kickstart your morning metabolism and give you energy from the nutrients of the food, it's also, again, it's not something you have to do to feel good and be healthy. As long as you eat, I would say by lunchtime, then you should have a good amount of energy. I just prefer to not fast the whole day. Some people do that. You can,
Yeah.
but it's not good for most people because most people can't deal with that. Most people are not conditioned to that. And if you want to condition to that, that's fine. But you got to gradually, do it through intermittent fasting. But that is the easiest fasting to get used to. But in a nutshell, intermittent fasting, totally, totally fine if you want to do it. It's not bad for your health. If anything, there are benefits to it, but it's also not something you have to do.
All right. I think that's really good for people to hear as well. That it like everything has pros and cons. Everything kind of works in its own way, and just finding your own preference and make it work
Definitely.
in your own personal routine.
Definitely. Again, just as long as you're not eating a whole big full-fledged breakfast before, you should be okay.
Yeah. So talking about the actual workout, or maybe let's take it even a step back. So if people are just getting started, what would you personally, what kind of training at all would you recommend people? Obviously, it depends on the goal they're after, but in general, yeah, what would you say? How should people start getting into exercise?
Yeah, for sure. If you're just now starting in your exercise routine and phase of your life, and maybe you've never worked out, or perhaps you have, but it's been years or months and months since, and you're just getting back to it. Wherever you're starting, wherever you're at in your fitness journey, the fact is, if you're starting out again or starting out for the first time, it's good to start slow and start gradual and not rush your way in. That's the worst thing anybody can do. So I would recommend starting with at least 3 times a week, 3 days a week. That's a good range. That's a good amount for most people, even the busiest of people I know, where, even if you might want to work out 4 or 5 days a week, if you're only really able to manage 3 full days for your best results in your schedule, then that's the best thing you can do. So it all does, of course, depend on your goals, your schedule, your preference, things like that. But for most people prefer to work out 3 to 4 times a week. And if they have a pretty busy schedule, typically 3 days is a good amount. Plus, even if you want to eventually increase those days, the amount, most goals can be met within 3 to 4 days. And it's a great way to ease yourself in without overwhelming yourself. So definitely 3 days a week, whether it be at home or the gym, that is, of course, personal preference. I would say the gym, if you can handle it, just because and manage it, because there's so much right there. Like everything's there at the gym, everything you need's right there. Now, if you prefer the home setting, you just like the one-on-one that's just you, no one else type, setting, type environment, that's fine too. Whatever really works for you by the end of the day. But even if you do that, make sure that you still are challenging yourself and you're not, just doing a set, doing a rep and then you take long rest breaks. Cause yes, it's good to rest, but you don't want to rest too long. But with that being said, 3 days a week, really personally prefer and recommend most people to do full body circuits, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Now, even if you're trying to gain muscle, there are benefits to still doing circuit training, especially if you're only doing it 3 times a week. Because what's good about this is you're gonna do these exercises and workouts in a quicker amount of time because you're doing each exercise back to back with no rest in between. And then you're resting at the very end of that, of that whole entire course in circuit of those workouts. Then you rest for maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes tops, and then you go right back to it for two, three more rounds at the most. And you could be done within 15 to 20 minutes. And that's a great way to save yourself time, burn a lot of calories by, for example, maybe you do some dumbbell bench press or push ups, followed up with some dumbbell rows or pull ups, dumbbell shoulder press, dumbbell squats, maybe some body weight squats, depending on what you have available. And then doing, some calf raises and some sit ups or some planks. That's a great, solid example right there of a circuit that's a full body circuit that you can do. And then rest for about a, minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, and then go back to it for about two or three more rounds. And that'll get you a great pump doing that 3 days a week, even from home. So if you're a beginner or getting back to fitness, that's one of my best suggestions for anyone. Doesn't take a lot of time. You don't even really need a gym. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. And it's not going to take your whole week or your whole day away. Because that's one of the drawbacks. A lot of people think at first when they get into fitness, man, if I want to see results, I got to live at the gym then, or I got to be at the gym for an hour or 2 hours. It's like you can be, but you really don't have to be, luckily.
Yes, definitely. Um, so another question about working out. What do you think is well? Again, it probably depends on your goal, but does it make a difference? So if we're saying we're working out in the gym now, do you go for more repetitions or more weight? What what's
Yeah, right.
what's the difference
Yeah,
there?
for sure. So it really does depend on your goals, what you're trying to do. If you're trying to just build endurance, just overall endurance, muscular endurance, I would definitely recommend that you do less weight, higher reps, just as a general rule. Now, if you're trying to do just more strength building, muscle building, then I would typically recommend that you do moderate to heavier weight and lower reps. That's just a general rule. However, I will say, with that being said, there is a caveat to that because that's the general rule of doing things. And it's the best way to do things mostly, but you can still build muscle with lower weight as long as you do enough reps and you're challenging yourself. And then the same thing, you can still build muscle and strength and even a little bit of endurance if you do heavier weights and lower reps. So, needless to say, either can work no matter your goals. But if you want to just train more specifically towards that one goal more so, then yes, higher reps, lower weight for endurance, uh, higher weight, lower reps for strength and muscle building. That is usually the best way of doing it. But you can also literally have a day where you do heavy weight and then you can have a day where you do low weight and you can literally mix them up. Heck, you can even put them in the same workout if you want. I just wouldn't do that at first if you're starting out because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. I would first, for most people, if you're starting out, I would eat, no matter your goals, I would still start out low with higher reps to build that foundation that and stabilize your muscles and really get your body conditioned first. So even if you want to lift heavy at some point, that's fine. But I would lift light no matter who you are if you're starting out. So that way you're building yourself up, and just do higher reps because you're still going to build a little bit of muscle doing that. And then you can still get that definition and endurance by doing that lower weight, higher reps to start. and then you can build off of that. Now, as you get more experienced in your fitness journey, and your whole just entire fitness aspirations, then you can start increasing the weight as you get more used to lifting weight. But you want to keep your form right too. That's another reason why it's good to start light, to keep your form in check so you don't injure yourself. So that way you're also doing the workouts properly. Because even if you don't injure yourself, if you're not doing the workouts as properly as you could, you won't get as much, results, or your results will not be nearly as good as they could be. So always starting light, no matter your goals, and then working your way up. And then you can split off if you want to do more higher rep, lower weight, or more heavyweight, or a combination thereof. But I would always start simple, start light, starting out.
Nice. Um, so since you already given us this wonderful full body circuit training example, which I think yeah is really good for people that also don't have a lot of time and can just do a lot of things. I'm wondering what your opinion is on doing supersets.
Yeah,
Is that something you like to do as well?
I love supersets. I'll mainly do straight sets and supersets as far as my type of training and my form of training when I go to the gym. So yes, I'm definitely more of a gym goer than a guy than working out at home. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. I just love the gym. But when I do go to the gym, supersets is definitely my thing. I love it because it does help with burning more calories, and it can also help with getting that extra bit of strength and muscle gains because you're really challenging your muscles. And typically, how I'll do it is when I superset, I'll do one muscle group, and then I'll do that in conjunction with the opposite opposing muscle group. And that's the best way to do supersets, especially if you're a beginner. You could superset, one exercise that has the same muscle group as the next one, but it's not as easy and it's not as doable for most people. So yeah, typically I'll do like some barbell bench press with some pull ups, but definitely is a great way to really get that strength, that muscle. And honestly, even if you're just trying to cut down, it's a great way to still keep that muscle, strong, and honestly challenge your body to still burn some calories, burn some fat, and gain some muscle.
Right. So that's actually what I wanted to ask about next as well. So what would you say could be some useful tips if your goal right now is losing weight or particularly losing fat? So you said supersets can be helpful with that. Is there anything else that you would recommend in the gym routine if you want to like burn calories, burn the
Yeah.
fat, and just get that going?
Yeah, for sure. So I would supersets is definitely a great thing. Circuit training. Like I was mentioning before, circuits are very, very effective as well. In fact, not to say that of course supersets aren't good at all. They of course are, but circuits are even more effective. In fact, I would say any exercise you can do with weights, with resistance bands, or honestly just calisthenics or a combination thereof. Circuit training's always the best type of workout you can do if you're trying to burn more calories in a quick amount of time. So literally going from one exercise to the next is going to be monumental for burning a lot of calories a lot quicker and really getting you that much more cut a lot quicker too. I found too that training to or training till failure can also be very effective. So literally doing one exercise and staying on, maybe you do a few sets and reps like normal, but at the very last set, typically you can go till failure and literally do as many reps as you literally physically can until you either mentally feel like you can't and you still can, or you just physically are at your limit. So no matter which comes first, training till failure is also very effective. And it can also build muscle and strength because you are really getting that muscle challenged and worked, depending where you're training it. But definitely, it can also help burn a lot of calories and help with fat loss. So, training till failure. I've also found too that, really adding on weight, progressive overload, while it does typically, or it has been typically known to build muscle and strength. It also can help burn fat because when you do really, really add on that weight, add on the sets, add on the reps, or even focus on time under tension, which also can be paired with progressive overloading. Because when you go from one rep, maybe you did it a little faster, you can also perform it a lot slower to really, really get that tension on your muscles, on your body. So, for example, if you're doing some dumbbell bench press, we'll just say, you go down a lot slower, you can really, really, really get those muscles activated and really targeted pretty well. And they say you'll feel the burn. So you definitely will. You'll feel the burn on that. Let me tell you that. But that's another great method. And I got to also say this on the flip side, you can also do a lot of sets and reps in a more burst fashion, if that makes sense. So basically, just going all out, like literally going super quick and fast. Keep your form in check. Don't injure yourself. But this is typically best done with lighter weight, of course. But when you do lighter weight, you can literally do burst of reps. So basically, one after another, the tempo is where you'll go a lot faster. It's not slow, it is controlled to an extent. You're not overdoing it, or you're not going to pull your joints or do anything like that. But that's part of why you keep it lower weight. But you could literally do some dumbbell bench press and do quick, fast bursts of those reps going up and down. That can also help with burning some calories too, quite a bit.
Nice. So I love how you're giving us just all these different kinds of how to do the exercises as well. Gave me a lot of inspiration as well to just
Yeah.
alternate here and yeah, use different ways. Um, a question that came up with that as well. Obviously, this being for more advanced people, but what would you recommend? Like, you think it's useful to switch up your exercises in general as well? Like, let's say you're doing always on chest day, you're doing these exercises. At what point would you switch up the exercise?
Right. Definitely. So it's definitely one of those things in fitness where a lot of people go back and forth on it. It's kind of funny how it works. Well, you don't have to, switch up your workouts or exercises a lot to see results. I mean, you can still see results as long as you're, adding on either more weight, adding on more reps or more sets, at least one of those three, if not two or all the three, as long as you're doing at least one of those, basically, as long as you're progressive overloading, you're always going to gain some amount and set amount of muscle and strength. So even if you don't switch out the exercises, technically, from what I've experienced and the results I've seen on myself and with my clients, you don't really have to switch the workouts up much to still get results, but you can still get results. Muscle confusion, it's so weird to say this, but for a lot of people, but it's actually not, it's more of a myth than anything. As long as you are doing the progressive overload in your training, that's the main thing that keeps seeing more progress, especially with muscle growth, strength growth, but also with fat loss too. I will say though, there are benefits though to switching out the exercises. Not because if you don't, you're not seeing results. It's more so that way you have more variety. That way you can target other parts of your muscles that maybe you weren't getting results with just because you weren't targeting that area. But yeah, if you have to switch it up, like for example, a really good one right here is dumbbell bench press, flat dumbbell bench press. It's really good to activate, of course, your shoulders, triceps, especially your triceps and your mid chest and even upper part of your chest some. But when you do decline, this is a great example. When you do decline dumbbell bench press, it'll really activate not just everything I've mentioned, but it's really going to target your lower chest even more. So when you go down, you can really feel it come down on your lower chest area as you go down and then go back up. So that's one example of a reason why it's good and very key and beneficial to adding on different exercises to your routine because it's going to switch things up. It's going to keep things fun, interesting. Variety is a spice of life, but also it's going to keep your body making progress in those areas that you may not have targeted as much before. So there are benefits to still adding in different exercises for sure.
So another thing that a lot of people, especially starting out, might struggle with, and I can also speak from experience there from the couple of times I started to actually go to the gym regularly. Like you go, you're excited, it's new, you do some progress relatively quickly as well. You get the form going, and then a couple of months down the stretch, you lose the motivation.
Yep.
You don't really want to go anymore. So what would you recommend to keep that motivation high?
Yeah, for sure. I would have to say, 'cause motivation, they say it's great, powerful, but it comes and goes, right? Motivation comes and goes. It doesn't stay, whether we like it or not. And I know all too well how that can also be for myself. I've been there all, all, all too real and all too well. I used to, when I got into fitness for the first time, I was super pumped up. And then I did for a little bit, I did have that little bit of time in my life where I wasn't as motivated. I wasn't feeling it, as I say, to keep going to the gym and do a lot of the same kind of work. But I then had to realize, and this is one of the key reasons, and I actually mentioned this towards the beginning of our show here, but really pinpointing your why and then analyzing. So whatever that may have been, but for me, I know it was my why personally was because I wanted to be healthier, but even more so, even deeper than that. Not just to be healthier, but to live longer so I could be around my family longer, see more people in my family, see more friends, do more things, travel the world, and honestly experience life as just a healthier and more, mobile and able individual. So essentially all that. And even if I wouldn't have kids, at least to have, be there for my wife longer at some point when I would get married and just be, strong and be able in every walk of life that I would have. So that was my core reason at heart. And so when I would analyze that and really remember that, say that out loud sometimes, or even just say it in my head and think that to myself and then write it out and look at it. That really gave me a huge insight that, man, it is good to be healthy, but there's a bigger, deeper reason why I'm doing this. Like there is a much deeper reason why I'm doing this and why I'm trying to not just be healthy today, but be healthy for the rest of my life. And so I had to really dig in deep to my why. And when I finally did, I've never looked back since. And then of course all the endorphins, it becomes addicting after a while anyway, where you don't even really have to have a why at some point in some ways. But having that why though still is going to keep you on track no matter what. So it's still good to have that. But when you mix that up with the good feelings you get from exercising, it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling, without a doubt. And I'd have to throw in this too, that also, not just everything I've mentioned there, but also really remembering all the, accomplishments you've made so far, even if it's not been anything big, but all the accomplishments you've made so far in your fitness and highlighting the positive feelings and benefits you started to see, even if it's something very small, if you can pinpoint that and especially write that down on paper, because there's something about that when you write down pen to paper, it really does imprint it into your subconscious mind. It really does. Like there's something about that that is super, super powerful for your mind. And when you can start doing that for yourself and with how you think and with how you feel, it makes it a lot easier to stay on track. And stay motivated. And then I would have to say from there, just having a game plan. Last but not least, having a game plan. So motivation is very important, like I said, but it can come and go. But when you applied everything I've mentioned up to now, and you can have a game plan going forward for how you can navigate, the rest of your fitness journey and how you can adjust things when you need to adjust, when you need to pivot. Maybe you got to take out a workout that's kind of frustrated you and add in a slightly easier one just to give yourself a little break, but still challenge yourself some, but give yourself that little bit of break. Maybe you gotta not work out on the weekends. Maybe you just gotta work out, 3 times in the middle of the week, Monday, Wednesday, maybe Friday, and then have the rest of the weekend. So just making tweaks, adjustments could also motivate you literally in the process. Even just bringing I personally work out better just solo because I'm more focused. But if you're one of those people that you need to bring a friend or a family member, do that as well. Bring a motivating mentor, coach, and it doesn't even have to always be a trainer, but it could just be someone that you really trust and that can actually encourage you to keep going. So that also can be very beneficial.
Right. So, yeah, maybe to make that the last question about fitness, since you already mentioned like coaches and mentors, that's obviously what you do. You're coaching. What inspired you to? Because we see your passion for the last 50 minutes.
Yeah.
How you like to talk about these things, and how did you go from I'm doing this for myself, I'm finding all this out for myself, to then wanting to coach other people, and yeah, how did that come along?
Right. So, after I realized not just the passion for working out for myself and my body and my fitness goals, just as a whole, I realized that when I dug in deep, because I didn't even then, like even after I got into working out, I wasn't honestly, thinking, hey, I'm gonna train people now. Like it wasn't, hey, now I'm working out, now I'm gonna train people. But I will say along the way, throughout that, when I did start getting into fitness, and then I dug in deep into who I was and really did more of a self-reflection, honestly, on who I was and what my traits were. When I really could list that out and analyze myself as a whole, I realized, well, I love fitness, but I also very much love helping people out. I really also love doing that. I love, being a humanitarian essentially. And so I love just helping people, in need, but especially when it's related to something I'm already very passionate just about for myself and for my body, for my health. I want to help other people out and do the same thing. So I got so addicted to it for myself that when I realized it does go hand in hand with being a humanitarian, when you already love fitness and you love helping people, I mean, training's literally that in a nutshell, personal training, fitness coaching. So I realized, man, I gotta do this. This is maybe not my only thing I want to do, but this is one of my main things I want to do with my life for sure. And I realized that, hey, definitely want to help other people out. Health is wealth. Health is literally the most important thing anybody could ever have. Like you can have a million, billion, $1 trillion in your bank account. That's awesome. But even if you have that, if you're not healthy, if you're not in good health whatsoever, you're not going to even live to enjoy any bit of that. And I mean, maybe at best, you're going to leave the legacy behind of finances, but if you have a family and things like that, but still, your health is very important and it's something you can't overlook. So I realized I want to help other people out one body at a time. And it's crazy. It was smackdown during COVID, right as COVID hit, literally in 2020. We're in what, 2024 now? Towards the end of 2024, it's crazy how this year's flown by
Yeah,
and time just flies anyway.
it
But
is.
yeah, in 2020, literally like 4 years, 4 years and so many months ago, I actually launched my fitness coaching online. I was intending on doing it in person because I thought I've never trained anybody. I've trained a lot myself, so I have experience. I love fitness, so I have the passion, which is all very equally important. But I've never trained anyone at that point so many years back. So I was thinking, okay, well, probably should start at a gym to give myself some experience in person and then transition to the online platform of online coaching. But with that being said, COVID happened. So if I was going to do training at all, I was like, man, I guess if I'm going to do this whatsoever, I have to go online. So it made it easy as far as not even having
Yeah.
to make the decision anymore. So I realized I'll just go online. So that's what it is. And a lot of people question that was a good idea because during COVID, a lot of people, a lot of things were shut down. A lot of people weren't working out, at least not at a gym, because a lot of them shut down, of course, naturally. With that, though, I actually realized, and I was saying to myself, well, it sounds like it wouldn't be a good idea, but I'm doing this virtually. So if I'm doing this virtually, I should be okay. Like if people are doing this online successfully, and a lot of people are working out maybe at home, this is like the perfect time to do it. So I realized that was the best decision I've ever made. And I've been doing it ever since. Of course, acting and modeling with it. But yeah, I've been doing the fitness coaching online ever since and realized that was my best opportunity to get in, especially as an online trainer, because what better time to start than during literally a pandemic where everyone's forced to work out at home if they're going to do it at all. So yeah, I realized, and a lot of people needed the help. So there was a huge demand there, and not just for physical reasons, but for their mindset, their mental health. Of course, working out helps with that. So a lot of people needed that being stuck at home and quarantine. So there were a lot of things with it for sure. But yeah, that's how I actually started getting into the practice and coaching, the fitness coaching.
Right. And well, you already mentioned it as well, so maybe we should just highlight that as well. Is that something you enjoy as well to see the mental health improve? Because as you said, it is like fitness, exercising, nutrition, all these things
Yeah.
really help with your mindset, with your mental health as well. So you want to help people in that regard as well, all right?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Nutrition, health, but mental health is the most important thing because if your mindset's not set right, I love to say it like that because literally, if your mindset's not set in the right place, in the right, format, function, it's not going to perform well and respond well to anything else you're doing. Like you can tell your mind, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to eat healthy, or I'm going to try to eat healthy, or however you want to say it. But if your mind's not really feeling it, like if your mind's not open to it, you're actually not gonna fully do it. Because talk is talk, and not to say you can't, trick your brain into doing certain things. Like, if you're really good with your mindset, you can, but you first gotta really dial in your mind, no matter what it takes. Getting out to nature, sometimes that to reset your mind, read a book that just lets you relax, let loose a little bit, kind of reset your mind in that way, or at the very least, get your mind off of some stuff that's been hindering. Counseling, therapy, all that can help too. And then, you know, drinking some more tea, listening to some music, really getting your mind, free of any negativity and setbacks, honestly, obstacles that are mindset, mental obstacles. But when you can break free of that, you're going to be a lot more successful. When you can break free of that, then everything else falls into place. But it is all mindset. It is literally all mindset. And I'll say it, being a fitness, fitness fanatic, fitness influencer, fitness coach, all the fitness stuff, being that guy myself, I will be the first to say that, yeah, physical, there are a lot of physical aspects and factors and matters to fitness. Obviously, to lift weights, you got to use some physicality, but it's so much more mental in some ways. Because if your mindset's not feeling it, you're not gonna get through the rep or get to even the weight, and especially you're not gonna get through heavy lifting. Because I know that I've been through it where I've been on the bench, benching some weight with some dumbbells, and I could have probably have done at least 1 or 2 more reps, but my mind was saying, "Man, you gotta stop. You're tired." And sure, I was tired and fatigued. I was lifting some heavy weights several years back, but I let my mind get in the way, and so when I did, I didn't get through. But then I did try another day where same kind of scenario, but I didn't let my mind get in the way. It was about to, but then I realized, man, I'm gonna push it through for at least 1 more rep or 2 more reps. And I was just thinking in my head, and I think Arnold said it too, but just 1 more rep, 1 more set. So I was in that mindset that I'm gonna at least do 1, 2 more reps, and I did. And I did. I'm not saying you can't fatigue. Yes, fatigue's real, and you should stop at a certain point. Don't wear yourself out where you have no energy. Of course, you got to have some common sense with it, but there's still that level where you can push yourself further than you think you can. So, needless to say, by the end of the day, what I'm trying to get at is it's all mindset. It is basically all mindset. And then, of course, the physical stuff follows. But you got to get your mindset set right.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, all that was really motivating and was really useful information as well. Um, so as I find the other thing you do very interesting as well, if we just want to go into acting and modeling for a
Yeah.
little bit as well. Um, So maybe if you also just want to tell us what got you interested in it initially, and then with jobs like that, I always have that question: what did you expect, and what was it like? Was there a difference in how what it actually is doing the job because it is a job at
Yeah.
the end of the day, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there were definite, expectations that I had and certain things I was thinking was gonna be a certain way. Sometimes it was, but oftentimes it wasn't. And there's a lot of things that you're gonna, realize in the industry that you probably didn't think of before or probably did not expect before. I'll say that. And you also, I will say this too, in that, you'll also get a lot of, rushed auditions, a lot of random callbacks, random auditions and callbacks where if you don't have any flexibility, it's going to be hard to swing it. Not to say you can't get a different gig at some point because they still come through, but you will literally be faced with anything and everything, and you got to be ready for anything and everything. I'll say that to start for anyone and anyone that's listening that has even the smallest bit of familiarity with, the entertainment industry, especially acting, modeling, you probably can relate, but it is so much like that. I will say going into it though, when before I got into my first play, I don't really do much theater work. I just really do film. Regarding acting, I just do film, voiceovers mainly. That's my thing now. But as far as theater, I've done one play
Okay.
before. Yeah. And I'll admit to you, I'm not to say that theater is not fun if you really get into the role. It can actually be fun if you're really, ready, practice, rehearsed, and you're mentally prepared. But I will have to say film and voiceovers, I just enjoy a lot more just because you have more of that freedom to do different options and you can always cut and then just redo the scene and do it better. So I think that's cool having that flexibility and freedom with that. And then really just making it more of your own in that way. But I will say, as far as the theater stuff goes, that was well, I was about to say it was my first acting gig. My first acting gig was a local commercial, which that was a lot of fun. Uh, I didn't just on that really quick, I didn't realize how much at first when this was my first gig, I was 17. I'm 26 now, so it's almost 10 years ago. It's crazy. But when I did this local smokeout commercial, basically trying to, put that frown on smoking and try to say smoking's basically good for your lungs, not good for your body. It was one of those commercials, funny enough, being a fitness guy too, how that all goes together. But it was for one of those commercials, and literally we were there. I didn't realize how many do-overs that they sometimes will do just for a simple commercial. Like, cut, all right, quiet on set, and then they'll just do a lot of that. And then it's still a lot of fun, but I didn't realize how many cuts and redos that can be done on just a commercial where one small little thing they don't like, you just got to redo the whole thing or redo this whole scene several times over before they get the right take, which I understand, but man, it's crazy. Like growing up just watching TV and movies and even commercials anyhow, I didn't realize how much work goes into just one commercial, one scene to a TV show, one scene to a movie. And then you watch it, it's like, okay, it's just a movie, just a show, just a commercial, but then you actually get behind the camera or in front of the camera, however you want to look at that. But literally being in front of the camera, it's literally a whole different thing. It's fun, but you're like, man, there is a lot more work that goes into this job, no matter how small or big the role might be, than most people think and realize. And it's like, holy man, this is crazy. But it's still a lot of fun. But man, you got to be prepared for anything and be prepared for a lot of On set, a lot of repetition if things aren't filmed properly the first few times, but it's still a lot of fun. I will say, and that's been my experience on a lot of different sets, a lot of different, you know, redos for a lot of other actors I was working alongside or with. There would be a lot of scenes they wanted to redo and retake, or maybe shoot a different way. And then, of course, different angles that go into each scene. So it's neat. It's neat and really
Right.
interesting. Also, I will say, having met some celebrities on set, which is pretty neat to say the least,
Mm.
with that, I've noticed a lot of them are pretty nice. That shockingly pretty nice and down to earth. You wouldn't think. You know, I met,
Right.
yeah, it's crazy. Ted McGinley from, I believe, Married with Children. I met him. I met he was Jennifer Taylor from Two and a Half Men with Charlie Sheen. She was
Right.
really cool, really neat, but very nice, very down to earth. Uh, not not at all thinking she's better or greater than anyone. Just a normal, a normal everyday person. Really, really cool people though, and it's interesting. All the celebrities you'll meet on uh, I even met Mahershala Ali from Moonlight. He was an Oscar-winning actor, so that was pretty neat. That was pretty
Yeah.
neat too. But you meet a lot of different cool faces on set, on different projects, whether it's a short film, feature film, TV show, TV series, or whatever it might be. But that was neat. I gotta say this to you. This was crazy. I just remembered this. But what is that guy's name again? It was in he was in that movie. He was in that local movie, not local movie, but recent movie, Reagan. But Dennis Quaid, yeah, I met Dennis Quaid. Uh, so
Oh,
that
wow.
was pretty cool too, yeah. And he seemed pretty cool too, seemed pretty nice. I will say he seemed a little bit more like, "Okay, I gotta more business, I gotta just do this, I gotta work, I gotta do my thing," but he seemed alright. He seemed, pretty nice
He's
guy
been
too.
doing it for a while
Yeah.
too.
But it was cool, just speaking of that, uh it was the same kind of thing, doing a lot of different takes over again, but it was really neat because I was able to use not, of course, loaded, thank God, but I was able to use an Uzi on set of the, film that
Oh,
just
nice.
recently got released, Reagan. I was one of the Secret Service agents. Uh, More in the background, but you could
Oh,
still see
cool.
me for a little bit of just a quick scene, but I was in that film. I'm like, yes.
Nice.
It was awesome. But I gotta admit, that was one of the highlights of acting for me was that meeting Jennifer Taylor and, doing a lot of different work has been pretty neat and rewarding. And I did animation several years back for a YouTuber, but a voiceover for an animation. But one of my dreams right now, voice acting wise, is to get into a video game. That'd be that'd be cool.
Mm.
I met, the voice actor of Mario, though, so that was pretty neat. Charles Martinet, he was cool.
Yeah, and I can see how that's a dream of yours. You enjoying video games and then being featured in the game. That
And
must
like
be that's pretty cool. Um, from what I heard as well, from what you hinted at, is that kind of what is the most rewarding about acting and probably also modeling is you have to repeat. You're doing these things. You have to find that perfect moment, perfect image, and once you capture that on video, on film, that's what you do it for, isn't it?
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's funny how that does translate with fitness too, like the repetitions involved. Just trying to keep, repeating, just to keep repeating, being repetitive until you get that, perfect take, until you get to that optimal, part of your strength where you feel good, you feel complete. So, yeah, there's a lot of parallels to that. But, yeah, it's very rewarding whenever you get to that because then you
Mhm.
realize, not just with fitness, but with the film and TV and modeling, when you see that perfect take and you finally got where you wanted to be with it, it's very rewarding because you did all that work and you finally see it paid off and you get the end result and the artistic value from it too.
Very, very cool. I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but well, one last thing, traveling. So what inspired you to I don't know if it was the first time because you said just recently you had a very long period of traveling.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the first time for you to travel that long of a period. So what inspired you to do it and what did you learn from traveling? Why should people do it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I've traveled to a lot of different places and a lot of different, states just within the US alone. But then I've also been to Canada, Mexico, and Japan. So those are all the places I've been to as far as traveling goes. Of course, spread out over different months and even some years. But I will say, I mean, I got to be honest, this has probably been, this has been without a doubt my favorite year in terms of traveling. And the reason I say that is because, well, just to really quickly list off, I've been to Las Vegas as of recent for the second time. That was fun. Then I was also recently in Wisconsin, saw Milwaukee, saw Chicago. Of course, that's south of Wisconsin, but in Illinois. But then I've also seen Madison, where I didn't really ever spend much time in Madison, Wisconsin. And that's cool because it's where my family's from, is Wisconsin. I
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
really cool, really neat. I saw some family while I was there, and then I also recently was in other states too. Earlier this year, I was in Missouri. I also went to California. Where else did I go? Where else didn't I go? I should really say I was in California. Saw Los Angeles again for like the seventh time, probably eighth time. That was very cool. Saw Beverly Hills, met some celebrities at the Gold's Gym, the Godfather of bodybuilding. That was a lot of fun at the Venice Beach Gold Gym. Almost met Arnold Schwarzenegger. So close. So close. I was
Oh,
like right there. That would have been really neat. I met,
that would be.
controversial guy, I'll admit, but I met RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy. So that was pretty
Oh,
interesting. I met him. I talked to him for a while. We had a huge, deep conversation. And then I also, where
I mean, he's
else?
really huge on health as
He
well. Like
is.
he
He
knows
is.
what he's talking about in that regard.
He's really big on fitness, so I thought that was pretty cool. Seeing him with his blue, t-shirt with some blue jeans and just just doing some push-ups in the gym lobby. I thought that was kind of fun. But, that was pretty neat. That was pretty but, yeah, first time I saw that, but that was really cool. And so saw that. I also went ahead and where else? I've been to Texas recently again, Dallas recently again. Colorado. I've also went to Colorado, saw Garden of the Gods, Denver, Pikes Peak again for the second time going to Colorado. So that was a lot of fun too. And then this is the highlight. Number two would be California this year, but the highlight for this year would have been finally going to Japan. I've never been, never was been, or never had been, I should say. Now I have been for the first time. And it was so amazing. Earlier this year in March, finally had the opportunity shortly after my birthday. It was a great late birthday present to myself, but I went to Japan for the first time, flew funny enough, flew from Houston, Texas to Tokyo, which that's crazy to be honest, because you're in the mid center part of the US, of course, more south than center, but mid south of the US. And then you're going all the way around, all the way past Cali. I mean, I thought for sure they'd at least stop, if not in Cali, that Hawaii to gas up. But I guess they had enough gas in that airplane where it took them just enough to Japan. So I went from Houston, Texas, all the way to Tokyo. And boy, that was, I'll just say this, the longest flight I've ever been on in my life. But it was a very fun flight, knowing where I'd be going. So I was like, all right. I didn't sleep much on this flight. I couldn't hardly sleep, but hey, it's now that I'm finally here. And so it was really
Yeah.
enjoyable flying into Tokyo, spent one night there. Uh, didn't see much first because we just got there, of course. But the first night had some ramen. Oh my gosh, that Japanese ramen was that's what it was. And then and then from
Okay.
there, man, it was just so clean, so organized and orderly. The people were polite, very polite. I mean,
Oh,
honestly, so polite. They're literally like the Canadians of Asia. I was just saying like that. And that's a good compliment to them. They're the Canadians of Asia. And so I went around, had some amazing food, and then we went to Mount Fuji the next day. That was literal
Mhm.
trip in itself. Then we went from Mount Fuji, and then we went from there to, not Kyoto, Osaka. And so we saw the shopping district, the waterfront. It was so just a lake between the shopping centers. It's beautiful there. The people, again, super friendly. Everything's cheap too. Everything was super cheap. I mean, I got dinner for like $5 in US dollars. Very, very
Oh, wow.
affordable to say the least. Very clean, little to no crime. I mean, honestly, there was no crime there. And then I have to admit, beyond that, we saw Kyoto, and this was one of my highlights. I saw Nintendo. I saw Nintendo, the headquarters of Nintendo.
Mhm.
Seeing that, man, I was like, "What? What am I actually here right now? Like, what is this?" Man, that was a very, very awesome to say the least. I mean, that was unreal. That was unreal. And the taxi driver, funny enough, we didn't actually have the route to go there, but he went out of his way personally just to drive us to it, and we didn't even have that on route. I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy is committed," but he's man, this is cool. So we
That's
saw
nice.
that, and man, that was amazing. Being a huge Nintendo guy growing up, I'm like, "This is literally a dream come true right in front of me." This was incredible. But yeah, Mario and Zelda, it's my thing. Smash Bros. Uh, fun fact, almost met the voice actor, or the announcer and voice actor of Melee. He actually lives in Tokyo, but didn't actually get to, meet up and link up when we were there, but almost did. Probably next time I
Mhm.
go. But that was cool. And then after that, came back, saw Tokyo, the Shibuya sky, saw the whole overlook of the city at night. Man, best time to go, I swear. Evening, late evening, and at nighttime. And then had some amazing, steak at in Tokyo that you could just cook on the burner yourself, and saw a lot of amazing,
Right.
shrines and temples along the way. But long story short, man, that was the trip so far of a lifetime, and I am so glad I went. So glad I went with my sister and some of her friends, and that was a great, great experience, to say the least.
That sounds amazing. Japan is full of my bucket list as well. Like everyone that's been there has only good things to say.
You have to go, you have to go,
And
it's fun.
I mean culture wise, and arguably also health and fitness wise, they have a lot of things figured out in Japan. Like, for
They do. They really do, and everything's so, convenient, everything's orderly. They're the, kings of punctuality to you. They really are,
yeah,
when a bus is coming to you, it's coming to you literally at the time you said. Here in the US, could happen. Yeah, maybe like one time out of 10 times, but it's probably not. It's probably gonna come like 2 minutes, 5 minutes after it says. It's insane, man,
yeah,
like, the
5 minutes will still be good.
yeah, it is amazing how they do things there, though. It's honestly, and I'll have to just add this quick. When I was in Tokyo, the busiest city on the planet, the biggest, most populated city, it doesn't even feel like it was. That's how crazily orderly it was. I mean, it was so orderly where it didn't seem like it was that busy. But there were a lot of people there, but you didn't feel like there was because everything's so managed well. Like, they just do it right. Everything's laid out properly, and the people know how to walk around. There were no cars honking at each other, nothing like everything was peaceful. I mean, like, this is unreal. I love it. I love it. What can I say? You got the big city feel with, you know, quiet, calming vibes somehow at the same time. Hey, this is amazing.
Yeah, that's always my favorite part about traveling is just seeing how different countries, how different cultures do their things, and every country on this earth has their unique thing. And yes, it's so nice to experience it.
It is. It really is. It's definitely a lifetime thing that I've always wanted to do. A huge, huge thing in my lifetime.
All right. Well, Roman, we had a very good, interesting conversation. And if to end it, you just want to tell the people if they want to find out more about you, if they want to see the things you do, where can they go? Where can they check you out?
Right. Yeah, if you want to find out more about me, all the people I've helped with their transformation pics, also their before and afters, and testimonial videos. And if you have some fitness goals that you personally need help with, and you want to get to the next level with your health and your fitness, then you can go to my website at romanfisherofficial.com. And that's FISCHER, by the way, because I know it sounds different, but romanfisherofficial.com. From there, you can fill out a quick application. And then from there, we will definitely discuss one on one how I can help you. Also, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn for anyone on LinkedIn at Roman Fisher Official.
All right. Loving the German spelling as well.
Oh, yeah. Got the
Um,
German last name.
uh, so yeah, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for letting me pick your brain about all these interesting topics.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And with that, I will say bye, everyone.